Minecraft just came out with 1.21 pre-release 3. Hello there, Ray here, and the official release of 1.21, the Tricky Trial update, is scheduled for the 13th of June, which is a Thursday. So we already seen the snapshot phases, and now we're in the pre-release phases, and after these we'll see the release candidates, and then finally the full release. And during this pre-release phase, they focus on fixing bugs that are mainly introduced during the creation of the 1.21 update. So rarely do we see older version bugs being fixed during this period. I just want to say a major thanks to everyone that came in with a Twitch sub last month when I was updating all the names at the end of the video. I was just flabbergasted at how many there was of you. Thank you so much for that. So first, let's take a look at the changes that came out with pre-release 2. The Mace's Windburst enchantment got a buff. So just as a recap, when it comes to the mace, you can do the smashing thing with no enchantment, but the Windburst enchantment goes off and sends you upwards whenever you successfully do a smash with your mace. You have to jump off at least one block in order to activate this. But the buff is how far you actually go upwards. So just with a level 1 enchantment, you'll now soar 7 blocks up in the air. And with a level 2 enchantment, you go 14 blocks up, which does a lot of damage. And level 3 Windburst will put you up 21 blocks in the air, which does a ton of damage once you hit the ground again. So make sure you have some feather falling boots so that you can take less damage. Or you could try to break your fall by hitting another mob. But if you don't time it perfectly, you might die. This buff is pretty nice since they have been mostly nerfing the mace. Probably the overall hardest nerf on the mace is that you can't get the mace to activate while just jumping. You need to have like jump to or jump off of a block. But bringing back a higher jump with the Windburst is really cool, but it also comes with the downside that you could end up taking so much damage that you end up dying, as the damage is only negated once you hit the ground and hit a mob at the same time. It doesn't take into effect when you go back up again and then come back down again. Let's try the Windburst on the mace ladder, which I showed in this shorts video here. And you can see it has a lot of boost now. Just gotta make sure to hit these on the way down. It's a lot easier to perform this than it was before. But since the enchantment only activates when you go downwards, we can't do a constant acceleration upwards to go like super high, like we went thousands of blocks upwards the last time. But it's much easier than before this change. Let me know how balanced you think the mace is with this most current change. You can no longer hold a mace, but then just throw a wind charge to get the actual launchingness of the mace, even though you never get remotely close to the actual explosion of the wind charge. A cool trick, but it was not intended. We also got a bug fix about the color of the names when it comes to different types of items. Notice we got some white, yellow, pink, and even light blue. So white text are items that are considered common, yellow are uncommon, light blue is considered rare, or pink is epic, being the rarest type. And they came in and added in more colors for the different new types of patterns. Copper doors were copied over from wooden doors and accidentally had this hashtag wood door tag on them. So that was removed, as well as their ability to be mined using an axe as a tool. And copper doors can't be used as fuel anymore like their wooden counterparts. Now they don't want you to get tons of slime by using oozing potions onto them, so they also made it so that the lingering potions won't be decreased if a slime is sitting inside of it, since the slime itself can't even get the effect. They did a similar thing to silverfish, so that silverfish won't decrease these infested lingering potions, but you can always have other mobs in here which will reduce it. Something we noticed in the previous pre-release was that when you placed down ender crystal, it would immediately explode. And apparently they accidentally made it so the end crystals were taking fire damage, so they removed that again. But it does remind me the old bugs where pushing ender crystals while they're on fire would make them blow up just like this. Now with the obsidian platform being changed so it will break down any blocks that are inside of that area, you can see it converts all that endstone where the platform generates inside of the mainland island down into endstone blocks. So now you'll no longer get spammed with a whole bunch of endstone, but the platform is still able to break any endstone that you place in later in. So the crazy auto mining machines that I showed previously still work. By the way, if you haven't seen my shorts video on more ways to use the auto mining, make sure to check out that video. I'll also put it in the description. Not only does it show a bunch of cool tricks, but it also answers a lot of common questions you guys had in the previous snapshot video. They added it so that even though you are writing something else, when you throw a pearl through a portal, it'll still be able to teleport you onto the other side. Now, some of you were asking what happens if you throw a pearl through this portal into nether and then have another nether portal on the other side to let it go back into the overworld. You can see my pearl is going through this portal here, and if I happen to load the other side, it actually shot all the way over here into unloaded chunks. But what I was actually doing is I was shooting a pearl out of this portal and I was trying to shoot it into this one and make it go through this one and then have it land over here. But that's not what actually happened. The pearl actually went out of this portal and went through that portal, but didn't actually get teleported by it. This is because the pearl itself has a cooldown. Just like most entities, when it comes through a portal, it can't go into another portal until a few seconds later. And that's why the pearl was able to go right through the portal and not get teleported. So if you wanted to do some type of trick like this, you would need to put in something to delay the pearl before sending it through the next portal, so that the cooldown can get removed before sending it into the next one. But overall, it's just better to use a ender pearl stasis chamber if you want to travel really far and use redstone to activate that. And there's even ways to activate your stasis chambers in unlimited distance, like using this trick here where I showed where you can create certain chunks to unload, and that can be a signal to activate it. Now, you might notice last week when I was talking about the fixes made to gateway portals that we were accidentally creating more and more of these gateway portals here, which was not intended, so they removed this bug. It was possible to keep the FOV that comes with soul speed just by going onto it and hopping off of it. You get this really wide angle now. So they removed this snapshot only problem. And there was 3 crashes resolved, one about updating, one related to leashing entities going through different dimensions, and the last about crossbows with multi-shot crashing once they ran out of durability. Now let's take a look at the changes in 1.21 pre-release 3. Apparently there's some kind of weird glitch where you could actually fall off of this lower slab, and by falling off of it you could then jump up to this taller block. Notice that the height between the slab and the top of the next block is 1.5 blocks. And normally you can't jump up 1.5 blocks, but this technique known as blip ups makes it so you can actually reach these heights. And apparently this was possible in some past versions, but then they kind of fixed it. But then more recently in this version, their fix actually made it easier to do this trick and actually reach much higher heights. Now, I've never been good at parkour, but this seems like something that parkour players could probably use to like somehow access really hard to reach areas. Let me know if you guys are into parkour and if you've ever heard of this or used this weird technique. But in this version, they say that they have completely fixed it now. This next one has to do with the markers on the map. Maps that are in item frames will produce a little green marker to where the players are that have the map. Except these little markers would actually stay there even if you would remove the map that was in the item frame. So now you can no longer get a bunch of these markers with people on whenever the map is removed. Now, a weird trick to do with your pets. Apparently there was a problem when wolves would sit up from sitting down, that they would immediately turn in the direction of their owner, even if they're like millions of blocks away. I feel like this is some kind of crazy 2v2 glitch where they could somehow figure out where somebody's base is just by a dog once it's standing up. It would immediately turn towards the player. So they resolved this snapshot bug. They also fixed a few odd bugs related to leads and boats. Now, one of the weirdest ones I accidentally noticed while I was goofing around with these during our live stream is this one where you have boat on a lead and then you relog. Once you come back into the game, all of a sudden the lead is missing, so it looks like you just have a boat that's following you. And you can come in and actually name that boat too. So then you just have this like friendly boat, kind of like something out of a Harry Potter book. Now that was recently fixed, along with the boats being weird when it comes to their bounciness. They can end up getting really bouncy and actually bouncing higher than the player, which was also put back to normal. And boats will no longer do this weird visual turning to face the correct direction. Now, having this exact boat rotation based on the player's direction of placement is actually useful. I showed how this can be used to have the player place in like a second boat in like an ice road in order to get very precise angles so you don't run into any walls. Because as soon as you hop in the boat, you get the exact same direction as the boat is facing and not the direction which you originally were facing before clicking into the boat. This is great to precisely align the player in survival. And you can see me come across all these weird tricks live during my live streams, where I test all this stuff on my testing server. And this server is open for you guys to even join. This is all thanks to Bisect Hosting, who are a Minecraft server host who make running Minecraft servers easy, while also being easy to customize so you can add in your own mods. If you use code RAY or the link in the description, you can get 25% off. And thank you everyone who took advantage of this, as it also helps me out. I'm probably currently right now designing some behind the scenes machines for 1.21 Minecraft. So check me out live with the link in the description, or see one of those other videos I mentioned. And as always, leave a like and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!